Chapter 20. A Delicate Ceasefire. Cyrus's eyes remained glued to the map that flickered before him, guiding him through the treacherous maze of the cave. The tantalizing glow of daylight beckoned him from just beyond the exit, illuminating the mist that shrouded the outside world in a veil of ethereal beauty. With one final push, Cyrus propelled himself off the last cave wall, feeling the cool, damp mist envelop him as he crossed the threshold between darkness and light. He emerged into an otherworldly landscape, the breathtaking sight momentarily stealing the air from his lungs. Before him lay a realm blanketed in a swirling opalescent fog that seemed to dance and weave between the trees and rocks that dotted the landscape. The blue twilight filtered through the mist, casting a bleak array of both shadows and color across the terrain, as though the very fabric of reality had been painted with the expressed design of emotional subtraction. He deftly flipped his body, ready to hit the ground and figure out his next move. His heart pounded with a mixture of excitement and trepidation as he prepared to venture forth into the unknown, grateful for the momentary respite from the darkness and terror that had haunted him mere moments before. Cyrus's fleeting triumph was snatched away as he registered the alarming reality of his situation. His sigh of relief had barely escaped his lips before he noticed the cave entrance he had just exited was, in fact, situated on the side of a dauntingly sheer cliff. His heart plummeted into his stomach as the gravity of the situation became all too clear. His higher-than-average intellect kicked in to explain to himself what he already knew. He would still experience the effects of gravity, which seemed to be about 38% of the gravity from his homeland. This means that he would fall more slowly compared to there, as gravity is weaker here. However, he knew that it was key to note that even though the gravitational pull is weaker, he would still accelerate as he fell, meaning that he would land on the surface with a significant impact. Though the strange gravity of this world had initially saved him from the ghost-like creature, it now threatened to betray him as he found himself helplessly tumbling through the air. A sense of disorientation washed over Cyrus as he continued to plunge through the swirling mists, their ethereal beauty, now a mocking reminder of his perilous predicament. Cyrus's mind raced as he tried to calculate how long he had before the inevitable impact. The altered gravity slowed his descent, but he could feel himself gradually accelerating. He couldn't see through the fog and had no idea what to do. But fate seemed to have other plans for Cyrus. As he continued to fall, the ground remained stubbornly hidden within the thick veil of fog. Time seemed to stretch and warp around him, each passing second feeling like an eternity as he waited for the inevitable collision. He concentrated his temporal velocity on himself, and although it made him fall even slower, he knew from past experience that it would not change the force at which he would hit the ground. It would, however, make the pain last much longer. As thoughts of a previous lightning strike and the pain that he felt went through his mind, desperation clawed at his insides. He frantically tried to think of a way to save himself. His eyes scanned the cliff face, searching for any protrusion or ledge that might offer salvation, but the rock wall remained smooth and securely out of reach. He clung to the hope that the ground would emerge from the mist before the force of the fall would be enough to shatter his bones. As Cyrus plummeted, the ground below him remained shrouded in mist, its presence looming ominously, unseen but undeniably approaching. The sensation of the fall was terrifying, his heart racing in sync with the intensifying gusts of wind that roared past his ears like a relentless storm. The world around him blurred into a dizzying array of colors and shapes, painting an abstract landscape that offered no solace or escape from his dire predicament. Cyrus's time-velocity abilities served to slow his descent, granting him an agonizingly extended opportunity to search for a means of survival. Rather than hastening his doom, the power that surged within him seemed to stretch each second into 5 or 6 seconds of intensity, forcing him to confront the chilling reality of his situation head-on. The sensation of gravity tugging at him grew steadily stronger, subtly morphing from a gentle pull to an inexorable force that threatened to transform him into a helpless projectile. As he continued his freefall, Cyrus's mind raced with a fervor that mirrored his rapid descent. Desperation and determination battled within him, each vying for control as he sought an answer to the seemingly insurmountable challenge before him. The wind's cacophony intensified, drowning out all other sounds and amplifying the urgency of his plight. Yet amidst the chaos, Cyrus refused to surrender to despair. Instead, he drew upon his training and experiences, recalling the lessons he had learned and the obstacles he had overcome. With each passing moment, his mind grew sharper, his focus more resolute. He knew that the ground, unforgiving and unyielding, would soon make its presence known, and that it was up to him to ensure that when it did, he would be prepared to face it. Cyrus focused intently on the possibilities of harnessing his limited mastery over the air to save himself from the perilous situation. He experimented with manipulating the surrounding atmosphere, attempting to craft vacuum pockets that might provide some semblance of resistance against the merciless pull of gravity. Though he achieved a modicum of success in decelerating his descent, the consequences of his efforts were far from ideal. As he wrestled with the air currents, Cyrus found himself ensnared in a whirlwind of his own making. The chaotic forces he had unleashed upon himself served only to send him into an ungainly tumble, his body contorting and twisting in a disorienting dance with the wind. The light of the sky, the grey of the mist, and the almost visible sheer cliff to his side seemed to trade places in a disconcerting, rapid-fire succession, leaving Cyrus struggling to maintain any sense of direction or control. Undeterred, he persevered in his attempts to regain stability, determined to find a solution to his predicament. Channeling his inner reserves of strength and resolve, Cyrus endeavored to reorient himself amidst the turbulent aerial environment he had inadvertently created. With each passing moment, he grew more adept at navigating the erratic gusts and eddies, gradually regaining his bearings and restoring a semblance of order to his harrowing descent. Within the hidden recesses of Cyrus's consciousness, Queen stirred to life, her formidable presence emerging like a predator stalking its prey. Her intent to seize control was as swift as it was ruthless, her will bearing down upon Cyrus with the force of a tidal wave. The ensuing struggle between them transformed into an intense standoff, reminiscent of two colossal beings engaged in a fierce duel within the abstract landscape of their shared mind. As they fought through the intricate complexities of this antagonistic partnership, they were two souls, bound together by circumstance and fate, each striving to maintain their individuality while working in unison to overcome the obstacles that beset them. As they forged ahead, Queen's unwavering determination and keen intellect were matched by Cyrus's resilience and growing mastery of his own abilities. Together, they formed an unlikely alliance, a fusion of contrasting personalities and skills that somehow managed to transcend their differences, becoming a formidable force against the lurking dangers that awaited them. Queen had come to a startling revelation amidst their ongoing power struggle. While she held dominion over Cyrus's physical form, he had quietly tapped into her vast repository of knowledge, cleverly exploiting their mental connection. His relentless pursuit of understanding and growth had transformed him into a formidable mental warrior, his once feeble mind now fortified with a wealth of insights and strategies. Yet, Queen recognized the precarious nature of their predicament. Though she possessed the ability to crush his will effortlessly, she hesitated, aware of the potential consequences that such an act might unleash. It was like walking a tightrope between wielding absolute power and maintaining a delicate balance. Dealing with a mere village idiot was one thing, but unleashing the full extent of her dominance upon a mind that had grown formidable was a risk she dared not take lightly. Their mental duel became a complex game of chess, each seeking to outmaneuver the other. Queen's superiority in knowledge and experience clashed against Cyrus's newfound mental prowess, creating a tempestuous clash of intellects that reverberated through the depths of their shared existence. Their thoughts intermingled, like swirling currents of a tumultuous sea, as they probed and prodded for any sign of weakness or vulnerability. Cyrus, however, was no longer the inexperienced and vulnerable youth that had first encountered Queen's overwhelming presence. Through weeks of constant study and research into controlling his own mental awareness against his prison, he had grown into a formidable force of his own, his skills honed and his spirit tempered. The lessons of his past had transformed him, his once meek and passive nature replaced with a fierce and unyielding determination. He drew upon the full extent of his newfound abilities and resolve, refusing to be overwhelmed by the relentless storm that was Queen's desire for control. Instead, he embraced the tempest within himself, becoming the embodiment of the storm that raged around them. No longer an isolated island at the mercy of the elements, Cyrus now wielded the full fury of the gale within his very soul. In this ethereal battlefield, the struggle between Cyrus and Queen continued to escalate, each of them striving to assert their dominance over the other. As their wills clashed and intertwined, it became clear that Cyrus was no longer the vulnerable youth of their previous encounters. He was a force to be reckoned with, a storm that refused to be quelled. In the end, Queen chose a path that defied her own instincts. She withheld the full weight of her dominance, opting instead for a measured approach. She allowed Cyrus to stand on his own mental ground, nurturing the spark of his growth and innovation. She recognized that by nurturing his mental prowess, he would become an even more valuable asset in their shared pursuit of their goals. And so, the mental battleground remained a scene of uneasy coexistence, a fragile truce between two formidable forces. Their minds, once locked in combat, now danced with a cautious rhythm, a synchrony born out of mutual respect and an acknowledgement of their interdependence. It was truly an intricate game of chess that she played. Cyrus had not yet realized that although they were on the same side, he was simply a pawn, and she was a queen. Queen and Cyrus, locked in their mental duel, suddenly became sharply conscious of the impending danger that loomed before them. The awareness of their predicament flickered like a flame in the shadows of their shared consciousness, a stark reminder of the urgency that now binds them together. With the burden of their precarious situation bearing down upon them like a mountain, they grudgingly set aside their struggle to engage in a critical negotiation. Their thoughts begin to weave together, a tapestry of ideas and strategies unfurled in the vast expanse of their conjoined minds. Like a fierce storm brewing on the horizon, the tempest of their deliberations grew in intensity, each fully aware of the dire consequences that await them should they fail to quickly reach an agreement. The gravity of their predicament provided a palpable tension to their interaction, as though the very air surrounding them had become thick with anticipation and apprehension. At the speed of thought, the swirling ideas exchanged between them created an intricate dance, each maneuver a subtle play for advantage, each concession a carefully weighed decision. Within the whirlwind of their deliberations, Queen and Cyrus navigated the delicate balance between cooperation and self-preservation, seeking common ground that will allow them both to emerge from this crisis unscathed. Amidst the tumultuous current of their mental discourse, a fragile accord began to take shape, reminiscent of a delicate ceasefire in a land ravaged by the throes of conflict. Queen, compelled by the primal instinct for survival, extends a proposal, a pact that offers a glimmer of hope, the promise of preserving both their lives from the impending doom. Reluctantly, they accept the terms of this truce, recognizing that their destinies have become inextricably entangled. Their pact is akin to a tiny spark in the darkness, a beacon of possibility that pierces through the gloom of their dire circumstances. With the inkling of an alliance now formed, they know that they must learn to rely on one another, to trust in the strength of their shared purpose. For it is only through unity that they can hope to overcome the trials that lie ahead, and only by standing together that they can hope to emerge victorious from the shadows that threaten to engulf them. As Cyrus granted Queen permission to take control of his body, he braced himself for the peculiar sensation that came with surrendering his autonomy. The transfer of power began gradually, like a slow ebb of the tide, and Cyrus felt the familiar presence as Queen encroached upon his consciousness. This time the experience felt less invasive. The mutual understanding they had developed allowed him to relinquish control with a sense of trust and camaraderie. As Queen assumed control, Cyrus found himself gradually receding to the back of his own mind, his thoughts and sensations becoming more distant, as if he was observing the world from the far end of a dimly lit tunnel. Simultaneously, he was acutely aware of Queen's presence, her thoughts and intentions intertwined with his own. Despite the strange duality of his existence in this state, Cyrus could not help but marvel at the seamless harmony they achieve, as if their minds were locked in a delicate dance of shared purpose. Cyrus's senses became muted, as if he was experiencing the world through a veil, yet he remained privy to the sights and sounds around him. He witnessed Queen's precise movements, the agility and grace with which she navigated their shared body, and a sense of awe filled him. He realized that their partnership, once fraught with tension and uncertainty, had evolved into something greater, the result of the sacrifices they had both made to ensure their survival. In this peculiar state of limbo, Cyrus began to grapple with the implications of this new dynamic. He recognized the potential benefits of their collaboration, but he also acknowledged the inherent vulnerability of his position. Still, as he witnessed Queen's prowess and the unwavering determination with which she executed their shared goals, Cyrus found himself embracing this newfound alliance with a mixture of hope and trepidation, excited to explore the uncharted territory that lied ahead. Brimming with resolve, Queen brought the temporal goggles to life. Her sight penetrated the veil of thick fog that concealed the terrain beneath them. Harnessing the sophisticated features provided by her link to the goggles, she traversed the invisible landscape, searching for a haven amidst the disorder. Her mind transformed into a channel of unwavering focus, sharpening her skills to their maximum potential. Cyrus was struck with the humbling realization that his human abilities couldn't fully tap into the vast potential of the advanced equipment he'd been gifted. He marveled at the clarity with which Queen could see through the fog, even though he was merely an observer within his own body. It was an odd sensation, being a passenger in his own life while someone else took the wheel. Queen, too, experienced a strange feeling. Focusing all her abilities on extracting them from their dire situation, she couldn't help but be distracted by an unpleasant sensation. "Did you piss yourself?" she asked bluntly. Cyrus's cheeks flushed with embarrassment, and he could feel the now cooled liquid sloshing around within his watertight cloth armor pants. Stammering, he replied, "Can we talk about this later?" Queen shook her head in disbelief, trying to ignore her disgust. The world around them transformed, revealing a hidden realm teeming with possibilities. Each potential outcome wove an intricate web of choices and consequences, forming a complex network of futures that stretched out towards the horizon. Queen's mind raced as she carefully navigated this labyrinth of paths, searching for the one that would lead them to safety. The immense responsibility weighed heavily on her, and a flicker of fear reminded her of the stakes at hand. Nonetheless, she remained resolute, committed to protecting both her and Cyrus's lives. Harnessing the full power of the phase shift, she prepared to transport them to a distant sanctuary. The world around them became a kaleidoscope of distorted images, as if viewed through a warped mirror. Cyrus's body disintegrated into dust, while the wet yellow substance continued its descent through the mist, eventually splattering on the ground like a small, localized rainstorm. As Queen's eyes fluttered open, she took in the sight of their new surroundings, a haven of safety amidst the chaos they'd left behind. The spectre of doom had vanished, and in its place an uncharted world awaited them. Though the road ahead was uncertain, one thing was indisputable: they had persevered through adversity and emerged stronger for it. The bond they'd forged would serve as the foundation for their continued survival as they braced for the challenges that lay ahead. Queen's decisive actions snatched them from the jaws of imminent death, the consequences of her intervention reverberating through their shared existence. The balance of control shifted, and she had become the predominant force within Cyrus's body. Yet, in a gesture of compromise, she granted him fleeting windows of agency, a few precious hours each day when he could reconnect with his essence, a small respite from the overwhelming influence that now enveloped him. Their survival came at a price, their paths forever intertwined as they navigated the perils that lay ahead. This newfound arrangement was a double-edged sword. On one hand, it allowed them to pool their strengths and rely on one another in the face of danger. On the other, it served as a constant reminder of the price they had paid for their continued existence. Their fates were now irrevocably intertwined, and they had to learn to adapt and cooperate as they traversed the treacherous path that stretched out before them. As one, Queen and Cyrus embarked on a treacherous journey, a single pair of footsteps echoing through rugged terrain and dense fog as they trekked for days on end. With each passing mile, the landscape seemed to mirror their anticipation, its rolling hills and towering cliffs reflecting the challenges they had yet to face. As they pressed forward, the air grew heavy with a palpable sense of foreboding, as if the very atmosphere conspired to deter their progress. At long last, their weary bodies carried them to the threshold of a village shrouded in melancholy. There were no vibrant hues of the surrounding countryside. Everything faded into muted shades, mirroring the villagers' worn expressions and dilapidated dwellings. It was a place where joy had long been overshadowed by the relentless grip of despair, where the songs of laughter had been silenced by the weight of adversity. As Queen and Cyrus stepped foot into the weary town, their arrival was met with watchful eyes and a lingering air of suspicion. The townsfolk, accustomed to a life overshadowed by gloom, held their trust close to their chests, cautious of outsiders who might bring further misfortune. The local guards, acting as the vigilant gatekeepers of their community, escorted the newcomers to the village witch, a mystical figure shrouded in enigmatic wisdom and rumored powers. Her abode stood on the outskirts of the town, a dilapidated cottage nestled within a grove of gnarled trees, where whispers of ancient rituals and divination mingled with the gentle rustle of leaves. Inside, the witch examined Queen with scrutinizing eyes, her piercing gaze searching for signs of curses and plagues that might threaten the already beleaguered inhabitants. It was a ritual of cautious vigilance, a necessary precaution to protect their fragile existence from potential harm, as the town grappled with the delicate balance between survival and the desire for a glimmer of hope. As Queen stood before the young woman, their gazes intertwined in a web of curiosity and intrigue. The witch, with her youthful face and penetrating eyes, emanated an aura of ancient knowledge and mysticism. With a voice that seemed to carry echoes from distant realms, Queen began to enlighten Cyrus about the woman's extraordinary abilities. She mentally explained that this fortunate soul had tapped into a minor energy power, much like the way Mistress Miranda had harnessed the control of pressure through the essence of air. This revelation painted a vivid scene in Cyrus's mind, as he imagined the swirling currents of energy dancing around the woman, intertwining with her very being. He marveled at the intricacies of what seemed to be a supernatural world, where mere mortals could tap into the primal forces that governed existence. Under the tutelage of Mistress Miranda, Cyrus delved into the realm of controlling air powers. The enigmatic mistress, with her seemingly deep understanding of the arcane, had gifted him with a glimpse into the world of her magic. She had imparted upon him a small taste of a minor power, a mere fragment of the immense capabilities that a true pillar possessed. As this knowledge settled within Cyrus, he realized that what he had learned under the coarse tutelage of Mistress Miranda was just the tip of an iceberg, a flicker in the vast cosmos of possibilities. The promise of unlocking his full potential as a pillar, with its untapped depths of strength and unimaginable abilities, beckoned him like a siren's call. With every breath he took, he yearned to transcend the limits of his current understanding and ascend to the heights of power that awaited him. Similar to Miranda, this witch's presence was shrouded in an aura of mystery and wisdom. With her gnarled staff and piercing gaze, she held the secrets of the arcane close to her heart. This wise crone had delved deep into the realms of energy recognition, honing her abilities to a fine art. She possessed the extraordinary gift of perceiving the ebb and flow of power that coursed through the veins of creatures and humans alike. Her senses were attuned to the subtle currents that intertwined with life itself, allowing her to discern the hidden potential and inner workings of those around her. With a mere glance, she could unravel the intricate tapestry of energy that wove through the world, revealing the true essence of all living beings. Her mastery over this minor energy power was akin to a delicate dance, an intimate connection with the life force that pulsed through the very fabric of existence. Queen stood before the enigmatic witch, her eyes filled with obvious curiosity. Cyrus was completely intrigued by the thought of harnessing this power, of unraveling the mysteries of the world through this woman's teachings. He knew that convincing her to become his guide would not be an easy task, but he was willing to embark on this perilous journey, driven by his insatiable thirst for knowledge and the burning desire to become more. Beneath the dim glow of flickering candlelight, the witch's eyes narrowed as she gazed upon Queen, sensing an unsettling dissonance within her. The exalted town seer, her skin barely etched with the passage of time, reached up to touch Cyrus's face. Queen instinctively recoiled a step, prompting the guards to shoot her a disapproving glance. With a deep breath, she stepped forward once more, allowing the woman to scrutinize her. The seer's voice was a raspy whisper. "There is something amiss with this one. It is not a curse, more of a possession." Queen stood tall, unafraid, yet surprised that the woman could discern this truth. In a gentle tone, the woman requested, "Let me speak with the one who owns this vessel. I know he is in there. Bring him forth." Queen nodded her head and closed her eyes. In an evident shift in posture and demeanor, Cyrus reclaimed control of his body. From the depths of his mind, he heard Queen's teasing advice. "Just try not to piss yourself this time." Cyrus could not help but cringe at Queen's jab, but relished at the sensation of being in command of his body without the shadow of death looming over him. The seer's curiosity was evident. "So, you are the owner of this vessel, I take it?" Cyrus smiled. "Yes, this body is mine. Thank you for letting me have some time in it. You seem to be quite skilled at what you do." With a nod, she replied, "I have been at it for a while. Do you wish me to expel the creature that has control of you? It would be difficult, but possible." Cyrus suddenly realized that the witch was not speaking his native tongue, and neither was he. Somehow, he could both understand and speak this foreign language. Queen sent him a thought, revealing that all languages are now accessible to him. As long as they maintained their compromise, she would no longer withhold her power from him. Cyrus returned his attention to the witch. "No, we have an agreement. I need her, and she needs me. We are on a quest to save this world and all those in it," the seer warned. "She is powerful and ancient, older than the mist that shrouds this land, and that is saying something indeed. But she does not realize how dire her situation is." Cyrus could feel Queen's animosity prickle at this human that would question her abilities. Cyrus stated flatly, I know what she is. She's a skilled manipulator, arrogant, and a liar, but I also know that her intentions, while completely selfish, align with saving countless lives." The witch nodded her head once more. "I will allow you to walk amongst my people, but only for a short while. You both know too many secrets that would disrupt their lives. Take a brief respite here and be on your way. One night, and you must be gone from my domain." Cyrus nodded and relinquished the mental hold on his body, allowing Queen to regain control. Queen regarded the witch, and again went against her nature to strike down the impetuous woman and try something she had never done before. "Thank you, human." The witch smiled at Queen. "You're welcome. It seems that his presence is having as much of an effect on you as your own is on him. I hope that you can both find an equilibrium before you destroy one another. He seems like a nice young man." Queen admits, "He has his moments." With that, Queen turned to leave the witch's home, but was stopped by another word of warning from this young woman that was sure to be much older than her appearance belied. "Again, do not loiter in this place. I will not abide the disruption of my people, and would see you continue your journey post-haste." Queen did not turn to acknowledge the witch's final thoughts and simply walked out of the stone house.